Hi, I'm Leigh Pafford, and this is my library list. Every month I take a book out of the library, read it, and review it for you to see if it's something you want to add to your library list. This month I read The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This book has been out for years, so it should be easy to get. But instead of going to the adult section, go to the young adult list. You might have to look there to find it in your library. The Lovely Bones is a beautifully written story about a horrific event that changed the lives of a family and a community. The story is narrated by Susie Salmon, who was lured by her neighbor George Harvey into a secret hiding place in a cornfield, was raped and murdered, and trapped in a beautiful and sad limbo. After Susie's death, she's able to see everything that happens to her family, her friends, her community, and to her killer. She sees the panic in her parents when they find out that she's not coming home the night that she dies. She sees the grief her family and the community feels when Susie's mittens and articles of clothing are found, and eventually the despair her family feels when the police declare her dead. Susie also sees her killer go about his daily activities, including oogling trophies from other victims he's killed along the way. Sally's able to follow her family for years after her death. She sees her father change from the strong man she knew as a preteen to a watered-down version of his former self as he relentlessly searches for Susie's killer. She also sees her mother, who morphs into a woman Susie never knew, a woman who is so distraught by the loss of her daughter that she leaves her family and moves away, far away, emotionally and physically, from where their family home was. Susie sees her parents drift apart and watches as their relationship slowly dies. Susie also sees heaven. Heaven, she learns from her afterlife companion Franny, that it can be whatever you want it to be. And Susie chooses to create her heaven to look like her childhood, her old school where she had her first kiss, the rolling fields that she loved to look at during recess. She's able to retreat to heaven when she wants to and look down on her family when she wants to check in. In the beginning, she spends more time longingly looking at the people she loves, her parents, her siblings, her friends. She spends little time lamenting on why she had to die and more time focusing on what is happening in the world that she can't return to. I loved the relationship between Susie and her sister Lindsay. Maybe that's because I have a close relationship with my own sister. Lindsay was a child when Susie died, but she was determined just as much as Lindsay's father and Susie's father to find the killer. Lindsay stalked the Harvey house, who, because of lack of evidence, was not arrested for the crime he committed, and she even breaks in to see if she can find a shred of evidence to bring her sister's murderer to task. Susie is able to see Lindsay grow into a beautiful, independent woman who eventually marries and has a daughter that she names Susie. I also liked how the book shared how Susie's death touched Ruth Connors, an outcast at Susie's school, who happened to be the last person to see Susie on the day of her murder, and Ray, who was Susie's first kiss. Neither of these characters in the book were particularly close to Susie, but her death sticks with them and throughout their adulthood, which I could relate to. I had a high school classmate of mine die when we were all in college, and although I wasn't close with her, after her death I found that I thought of her often, and I'm always reminded of her in the spring when I see daffodils bloom. I also love that there was justice in the end of the book. I won't tell you how, but Mr. Harvey is punished for murdering Susie and the other girls whose lives he took. One would think that a story of child rape and murder would be depressing, but overall the book was uplifting and quite touching. I would recommend that you read this book along with the young adult in your life, your daughter, son, niece, nephew, and take some time to have your own discussion group. To find out what I'm reading next month, visit my Facebook page. I'm Leigh Pafford, and that's what's on my library list. Back to you at the news desk.